News. Thank you. Hillary is having a temper tantrum. Look what President Trump just did, you'll cheer. One topic that has been underlined in these website pages is that justice is for everybody or for nobody. The possibility that one can move sufficiently high on the political stepping stool to be past the range of the law is savage. Once spread and accepted as reality, that conviction leads not exclusively to hatred for such people who appear to be resistant to justice, yet it brings the legitimate system and its parts into unsavoriness. A general public that sees the law as a wiped-out joke is a general public in a sensational decrease. Is there any uncertainty that if a normal representative with top mystery trusted status in one of our knowledge offices were to have done what overpowering proof focuses on what Hillary has done, that such a man would be confronting different criminal accusations? Assuming this is the case, why isn't she? Up until now, the main answer is that she is Hillary. That is sufficiently bad. President Trump took to Twitter to declare that he is pressing Attorney General Sessions to seek after charges against Hillary and to indict her. It is the right choice. Either indict her or exonerate each individual in jail for releasing characterized data paying little heed to their inspiration. Justice for all or justice for none. This was a delicate matter for Trump. If I win, I will instruct my Attorney General to get a special prosecutor to look at your situation. Because there has never been so many lies, so much deception, Trump said in the second presidential debate with Clinton. After some quibble now gives off an impression of being the time that he will follow through on that promise. Trump is prepared to get down to business. Something at which he ought to exceed expectations given the troublesome and serious transactions that have been a standard component of his business life. Sessions may have made comments showing that he was uncertain whether he ought to be the one to seek after charges against Hillary given that he contradicted her bid for president. All things considered, if the Attorney General isn't the individual to do as such, maybe he could show who should. All things considered, he is the country's central law authorization officer. It is not his business to release lawbreakers free. If not supporting Hillary for president would be an excluding factor for being engaged with her indictment, that would preclude the larger part of Americans, individuals who either voted in favor of President Trump or who didn't vote by any stretch of the imagination. That is a silly thought. Attorney General Sessions, carry out your employment and indict Hillary. All things considered, the jury will settle on an ultimate conclusion. On the off chance that you won't, leave and let somebody who is unafraid to do the Attorney General's job assume control. What do you think about this? Do not hesitate and write your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for reading. H.T. The Daily Caller. Resignation? Major scandal just erupts on top Democrats, you'll be speechless? It may be the case that the subject of about alleged collusion between President Trump's campaign team and the Russians may be essentially an instance of the Democrats attempting to produce an outrage before their own particular broke the news. It's a pleasant attempt, however one that is bound to disappointment when you have people like Hillary Clinton in your party. Furthermore, for reasons unknown, there is a pack more Democrats that will be encountering all the wrong kind of attention too. Congresswoman and previous chair of the DNC Debbie Wasserman Schultz is at the focal point of an embarrassment that may catch her, as well as some of her Democratic partners too. Her IT staff member has been arrested on bank fraud charges as he was endeavoring to flee the country. He and his family worked for other Democratic administrators who may get got in this web too. What's more, he might be blameworthy of much something beyond bank fraud. It's not been a simple time for Debbie. In the first place, she was constrained out as a chair of the DNC. Presently, Republicans, as well as a kindred Democrat, is requiring her to leave from the House. With the arrest of her longtime IT staffer this week as he tried to leave the country, U.S. Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz, D. Weston, is drawing fire from the left and right. Tim Canova, a liberal law professor who challenged Wasserman Schultz in the 2016 Democratic primary and has filed a lawsuit against her again in 2018, noted the arrest of Imran Awan in a fundraising letter sent Tuesday. He accused Wasserman Schultz, who kept Awan on her payroll after he was barred from the House computer system in February, of trying to obstruct the investigation of Awen and others. I have also been calling on Wasserman Schultz to resign from her household seat, and I have pointed out the obvious, that as long as she is in public life, the Democratic Party will flounder and the people of South Florida will be ill-served in Congress, Canova wrote in the fundraising pitch. Clearly, there is much more going ahead here than one Congresswoman's IT assistant playing it recklessly with some bank transactions. Parties are attempting urgently to shroud something. Crushed hard drives were estimated from this IT staff member's living residence by the FBI, and she has been edgy to keep an individual tablet out of the hands of law enforcement workforce. She would not be taking such activities that are certain to expedite open investigation her in the event that she didn't have some intense materials to cover up. After resigning in disgrace from the DNC, the investigation into Wasserman Schultz's former IT aide has further tarnished her reputation. Despite her efforts to revive her image by focusing on Russia's involvement in 2016 elections, the former DNC chair is still seen as a corrupt, out-touch politician who represents the worst of the Democratic Party. Her continued presence in the Democratic leadership impedes party reform and ensures that voters' lack of trust for the Democrat switch derived from her leadership at the DNC remains. That is a fine summation of Debbie's circumstance and issues. How much these issues turn into the issues of different Democrats and also the Democratic Party itself, is how much party administration will function to toss her under the transport. She simply didn't understand that she was not as imperative to the party as Hillary. What do you think about this? Do not hesitate and write your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for reading. T Observer, Palm Beach Post. $780 billion victory. House GOP just passes $780 billion bill. President Trump finally has the money he needs to. President Donald Trump is one bit nearer to following through on a promise he made to the Americans. All through his fruitful campaign, he said he'd stop the interminable flood of unlawful migration that has pushed a once proud nation to the brink of collapse. He swore he'd do all that he could to secure Americans and recover this country on its feet, and that incorporates things like a travel forbid that prevents terrorists from entering the nation. Maybe most dubious is the oft-debated southern border wall, which liberals love to loathe and ridicule, while in the meantime offering no arrangement at all for the illicit movement issue. Indeed, their answer is to overlook it or imagine there is no issue. Yes, ostrich disorder runs widespread among the misleading left. Be that as it may, now, the House of Representatives has given Trump and genuine patriots around the nation a colossal triumph. They've passed a $788 billion spending package, which incorporates funding for the military and, yes, a border wall amongst Mexico and the United States. Via Independent Journal Review, citing the Associated Press, the legislation passed on a 235-192 vote and is likely to face tough Democratic opposition in the Senate. In addition to the border wall financing, the spending package contained funding for military pay raise and an increase for veterans programs. Although the border wall reportedly received low public approval in the polls, the Republicans gave Trump the necessary funding. House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy, R. California, suggested Trump got, or would eventually, get as much funding as he requested for the border wall. Every single dime the president asked to start building a wall on our southern border, he's going to get, McCarthy said. Obviously, House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi scrutinized the bill since it skirted a $70 billion spending limit put on the military. Yes, Nancy, it breaks that utmost, yet in the event that we don't accomplish something now to shield ourselves from individuals of your kind, we will transform into parts of Europe, which is going up on fire at the present time. That ought to be a lesson to us with respect to movement and relocation. However, once more, liberals would rather stick their hands in the sand and chant kumbaya in light of the fact that they can't deal with reality. Obviously, they never could. Which is the reason we're in this circumstance. What do you think about this? Do not hesitate and write your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for reading. TIJR, Associated Press. fired. White House leaker who sabotaged President Trump fired. It's about time. No association capacities without the capacity to hold a few issues in confidence. While the legislature has an extraordinary commitment to the general population, that does not imply that everything that is done inside each part should be open learning. That is self-evident. The individuals who break that confidence, particularly for private pickup, should be fired. It's quite recently that straightforward. Assistant Press Secretary Michael Short is a nearby partner of Chief of Staff Priebus, and there have been inquiries concerning his respectability with regards to keeping confidential data private. Truth be told, there have been a few murmurings with respect to whether Mr. Priebus has shown the most extreme inconstancy in such issues. Presently, Michael Short has been fired by the new White House Communications Director Anthony Scaramucci. The inquiry stays with reference to who else may be on the hacking obstruct as President Trump tries to plug the releases that have tormented his organization. Could Priebus, himself, be next to go? Breitbart reports that Michael Jackson has been terminated from the White House Communications Office. Short, an ally of the White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus and now former Press Secretary Sean Spicer, who resigned last week, was terminated on Tuesday by new White House Communications Director Anthony Scaramucci. Politico's Tara Palmieri was the first to report the news. Newly appointed White House Communications Director Anthony Scaramucci said on Tuesday that he plans to dismiss Assistant Press Secretary Michael Short, Palmieri wrote on Tuesday morning. It would be Scaramucci's first step towards shaking up the communications shop, which was dominated by former Republican National Staff staffers loyal to White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, a former RNC chairman. Better late than never. Little breaks can sink a major ship if there are sufficient of them, and ideally Mr. Scaramucci will have the capacity to find and fire the individuals who do not have the loyalty to look after privacy, and will put enough dread in whatever remains of them to ensure that they reconsider before they uncover private data for sense of self-delight or individual pickup. What do you think about this? Do not hesitate and write your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for reading. H.T. Rightwing. Guess who must testify before Congress about Obama spy ring? Obama is scared stiff. The plot thickens as the profundities to which the scandals in D.C. go simply continue getting further. Unless we have at last accomplished the point where Washington is absolutely exempt from the laws that apply to everyone else, and our justice system has been totally fixed or rendered futile, the time has come to see a few indictments. The sheer likelihood that every one of the allegations and confirmation against Obama, Lynch, Hillary, Huma, Podesta, Wasserman Schultz, Comey, and a pack of others are only dreams concocted by their political rivals must be galactic. On the off chance that justice exists in D.C., it roots past time for it to demonstrate its head. Evidently, that idea has jumped out at Ronna Romney McDaniel, chair of the RNC, as she has approached previous DNC chair, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, to testify before Congress after her long-term IT staff member just got arrested for bank fraud as he was endeavoring to escape the nation. McDaniel is clearly partisan, however, the congressional panel would be bipartisan, in this manner taking out the charge that the investigation would be run just by the Republicans. McDaniel made an explosive demand in an exclusive interview with Breitbart News via phone on Wednesday afternoon, after news broke Tuesday night that Wasserman Schultz's IT staffer for more than a decade was caught trying to flee the country by a federal law enforcement agent after wiring hundreds of thousands of dollars to Pakistan. I think the Congress needs to open an investigation into what this staffer had access to find out what information he had on the hard drives he took a Hummer to, why he was fleeing the country, McDaniel told Breitbart News. There are just so many questions with this individual and his family members who received over $4 million of taxpayer money between 2005 and 2009. We need to get to the bottom of it. It's very sad that the mainstream media does not talk about this at all. It shows the bias. McDaniel makes some great focuses. She likewise insinuates the way that the mainstream media is generally overlooking this because of its undeniable radical predisposition. That is valid, yet these are private news associations, and they are probably not going to change their approach as long as enough liberals tune in or purchase their daily papers to keep the mainstream media firms beneficial. It's a dismal unavoidable truth, however. It essentially implies that conservatives should simply work that substantially harder to contend in the field of thoughts. Wasserman Schultz has a great deal of disclosing to do. Probably her worry and those of her countrymen are that she may be constrained to uncover data that prompts a web of wrongdoing in which a hefty portion of those comrades would be gotten up to speed. Comrades, for example, Obama and Clinton for one thing. W. Wasserman Schultz absolutely needs to testify and explain why this individual was on a payroll paid by taxpayer until yesterday, as he was fleeing the country, on top of the fact that they had removed his access to congressional computers in February, McDaniel said. She knew she was under investigation, she knew something was wrong, and she kept him on the payroll. So we need to figure out what she knew, why she was protecting this person, and figured out what he did with important government information. On the off chance that the justice system might want to be regarded, something that is thought to be the situation, at that point it is the ideal opportunity for forceful, exhaustive, and unprejudiced investigations to start that outcome in arraignments. The steady politicization of each potential criminal issue just leads Americans to presume that most everybody in Washington is abnormal to some degree, and this does the country no great by any means. The media can make every one of the clamors it needs on the two sides of the issue. The justice system must not be a media-driven association but rather a reality-driven one, honing strong, demonstrated investigative methods. In the event that Congress needs to hold hearings to find actualities that assistance, fine. In any case, it's a great opportunity to see justice in real life. What do you think about this? Do not hesitate and write your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for reading. H. T. Briat